Thank you. So thank you all for being here. I know this is unusual for a lot of you, but I'm experimenting. Oh, hi, Markley. Please grab a seat on the left or on the right side of the stage. Thank you. So yeah, I believe we can have fun at the same time of taking action for our planet, and we can, turn this into a journey, and I'm happy to share it with you. I know we have a lot of new members today, and so thank you for being here, first of all. And I hope you will enjoy the program. I'm going to start with a quick intro about the community, what's going to happen this year, and then I'll leave the stage to Nancy and Eileen from Cucumber Clothing, and we will have a Q&A, and then we will have our networking session. So Markley, grab a seat, stop moving. She makes me laugh moving around with her avatar. No worries. You can move around afterwards anyways. It's going to be fun. You can really interact in all kinds of ways here. If you have any questions at any time, I think we've seen all the tech things. You can click on videos, by the way, to enter in full screen mode. It's more comfortable for the eye. Usually you can't see everybody on your screen. You can't see 50 cameras just like on Zoom. It's limited to less than 10. I'm gonna, if you don't have any questions or tech issues right now, I'll go on stage, and I think we can get started. All right, so I wanted to give you some quick updates about the community. So a quick reminder, hi Pranav, please grab a seat on the left or on the right of the stage, because right now you're on the spotlight tile. This is exactly where you would have to go after the pitch to ask your questions, because when you are on the spotlight tile, your name is orange, and that means everybody can hear you. So about the community, so a quick reminder, the EA project is the event production company behind the Circular Society Network. The network is here for professionals to discuss about topics in multi-sectors, multi-industries around the world. I believe we need to use these new technologies to have a place where we can open our minds and design things differently from what we've done so far. And the Circular Society Network will be really at the core of all the events the EA project is going to produce, virtually or in person here in London. So in 2022, we are going to, first of all, there will not be an event in February. Why? Because we are going to start working with you on new formats. Until now, today is our third virtual event only. we really launched in October, really, when you think about it, with our first event. And we started with a format with pitches from our members, Q&A, networking, just like today. But I would like to add more value to this and get involved more members. So I'm going to start working, I have already started to work on circular roundtables. So I've got several roundtables on the agenda right now, like one about climate justice, another one about food to waste to energy, or circular buildings, circular neighborhoods, really topics that involve multi-industries. And so I would like to get you involved in these roundtables. So if you are interested in participating, come back to me. You all have my email address, I think so. And in February, so I'm not going to produce a virtual event because I want to focus on that, on building these circular roundtables with you, and for the rest of the year. And I think I will maybe keep some pitch formats from time to time. I think it's good to have a mix, but I really want to add this value, and this is really what makes our community unique, is that we really have a very diverse audience, and we learn a lot of things every time, and we have new outputs from everybody, and it really will help us in our transformation. I've sent a survey to ask if people wanted to get involved in helping our community grow. 4 of you have registered. I will send back the survey again in February to have more people involved, so we can design these roundtables together and grow together. Concerning London, I'm going to produce in-person events and activities to start involving more professionals and more the general public too, by raising awareness in an entertaining way with activities around sustainability. I think we can increase the engagement of the community in general, virtually too. London is a very international city, and the people I will meet here, I will try to bring them here virtually too. That's about it, I think. I've took some measures to also remove members who weren't that engaged or active. So I'm not targeting the big numbers. I really want people to get engaged more than signing up just to sign up. And at the end of February, we will stop the early bird membership. So it's going to be free to join us for 1 month. And then people, new members will have to pay a fee to join. So within that time frame of 1 month, feel free to spread the word. Everybody who joins now for free is going to have benefits forever. All these events will remain free for you guys. So spread the word before the end of February. And if you haven't had a one-to-one call with me, contact me too if you're interested. I really want to get to know every single of you. I've spoken to a lot of you, but not everybody yet. So until then, feel free to come back to me anytime. Right, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to invite Nancy and Eileen to join the stage.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us? Is that okay? Okay, so hello, I'm Nancy.
And I am Eileen.
And so we're going to talk to you today about our business that we founded, Cucumber Clothing, in September 2017. So Eileen and I have been friends. We met at the school gate over 20 years ago now. And we're both women who like to keep active. So Eileen loves to do yoga, wild swimming, working out. I play basketball, I do Pilates, and I also work out. And we found ourselves in that gym kit all day, really, unless we had a work meeting or a smarter engagement we had to go to. It's kind of those clothes that keep you cool and dry and sort of crush free as you go about your day. And we had all these conversations about there must be a way to replicate all the attributes of these technical fabrics that kept us cool, but in a fabric that felt fabulous to wear, something that we'd want to wear in lovely styling, something that would take us from the bed to the boardroom, walking our dogs, coffee with friends, without having to change. So we decided to investigate, and we spent 18 months testing and researching lots of different fabrics, and then Cucumber was born.
Absolutely. And Nancy mentioned the word technical fabrics, the words technical fabrics. Fabrics really are the core of our business. So we're not a high fashion brand. We're not trend driven. We're definitely not fast fashion. Our customers come to us, they fall in love with our brand because of our fabrics. Our fabrics feel amazing against the skin. They also help our customers feel amazing. So why is that? It's because our fabrics are engineered to optimize comfort. They help keep you cool when you're hot. They help keep you warm when you're cold. They're optimized to wick to keep you dry, even if it's hot and sweaty. They have an incredibly baby soft hand feel. And essentially, that is why customers come to us. We use human-made fibers, mainly for durability and longevity, and that's something that we'll explore a bit later in terms of sustainability and circularity, because obviously that there's a big tension there. But human-made fibers mean that our clothes last an incredibly long time. They're durable, they're color fast, and all the technical qualities of those fabrics last for the entire lifetime of each garment. So it's not as if halfway through, 5 years later, you're going to find, oh, this doesn't work for me anymore. And finally, our fabrics mean, like all technical fabrics, they're incredibly easy to take care of. You hardly need to wash them. They are cold wash, hang dry, no iron. So all of these things work together to make our customer base happy, keep our USP going, but also tie into our sustainability story with our brand.
So we know that making anything leaves a carbon footprint, and we're no different, but we tried to make ours as light as possible. And we really want to be a brand with a conscience, and we've tried very hard to improve along the way, because obviously launching we weren't perfect, and we're still not perfect, but we're trying to identify ways that we can improve along our journey. And the main thing that we're really proud of is our 5-mile radius. So this means that we design, sample, grade, manufacture and warehouse all within a 5-mile radius of our London base. So we're not only using less carbon miles for every stage of the process, but we're able to keep a close eye on the development of each final piece. And we know all people in our supply chain, and we know they have good working practices. So many companies talk about sustainability, or fashion companies, certainly in terms of just the fabrics they're using. But we believe that nothing is sustainable without fair wages and fair working conditions for everyone in the supply chain. And that's something that we're really sort of adamant about. So we do import our fabrics, because nothing like them is made here. But once they're here, we can meet at our homes, conveniently located less than 5 miles apart. And together with our design technician, we can work on our ideas and develop them into drawings.
Yeah, and in fact here, hopefully you can see our slide that we shared, which are just some of the pieces that we use. We have 4 different fabrics. They'll work in different ways, but they have the same result as we discussed earlier. So our fabrics arrive in the country. The first delivery goes to our pattern cutter, who conveniently as well is within our 5-mile radius. And we're in and out of many meetings to try and create the perfect sample. When we finally tweak, our pattern cutter comes up with the perfect pattern and the sample, which is delivered to our factory along with the bulk of the fabric.
Oh. So once we've turned our patterns into garments, obviously they're tagged with our labels and swing tags, all made from recycled office waste. This is something we've improved on. Packed in 100% compostable vegetable starch bags, which keeps the clothes clean from factory to warehouse. Again, something we've improved along. And get delivered to our warehouse, again, within our 5-mile radius.
So along the way, the 5-mile radius is a really important part of our story, because it means that we're making local, it means that we're supporting local industry, it means that we are reducing our carbon emissions in every way. And one of the great benefits for us is that we're able to check that every detail is correct. We're not constantly on Zoom, we're not hoping that the factory across the world is engaged in fair practices, even though they might have signed a contract with us. We can see very clearly what's going on the entire time. It's a fantastic way to minimize any errors, which means that it's much more cost effective for us ultimately. And also, if there are issues that come up, communication is frequent, it's open, and it's in person, so things can be cleared up very, very quickly. It also means that we're able to make and implement decisions incredibly quickly, partly because we are a very small company. If we make a decision, we can act on it straight away. So, for example, during the first lockdown, we decided to use all our usable offcuts, because some pieces are very tiny, but you often get slightly larger pieces, to line face masks that we sold as part of a charitable initiative during the first and second lockdowns. We continue to do so.
So as Eileen said, our clothes are made for longevity. We use fabrics that have been proven to last up to 6 times longer than cotton. And with our styling, we're really not trend driven. So we call ourselves seasonless fashion. So these are pieces to keep from year to year. We're never going to be the hero pieces of a women's wardrobe. We're rather the pieces that she wears next to her skin that make her feel fabulous all day, dress up, dress down. And as Eileen said before, all about easy care and less washing. So everybody washes their clothes too much. And really, because our clothes wick away sweat and odours, you only really need to wash them if they get physically dirty. And then, and not only in the process of washing in a cool wash, hand dry, or hand wash with no tumble drying or ironing, but in the lifetime of each garment, that means considerably less energy is being used.
So sustainability and circularity, we consider ourselves very much a sustainable brand, and that's grown from our own personal deep interest in sustainability, which has meant that we have tried to embed it in every layer of our company as we've grown right from the start. The last 2 years has probably given a lot of people the space to think and to really look inwardly and to try and discover where we can grow and where we can improve. And we definitely know that sustainability isn't a finite thing. As our understanding grows of what sustainability can mean, then so do the challenges that mean that you have to rise to them and constantly be flexible in your approach to how you're growing as a company. So one of the things that we have done is we have been challenging ourselves to create more circularity in our brand. So if you think of sustainability as a wheel, circularity is an enormous cog in that wheel. And it really means looking specifically at the end of life of a product. So for us, that's garments, to ensure that there is planning for that stage. It's not just about what you make things of, how you make them, where you make them. It's about what happens when that garment comes to the end of its life. So we have always had, for about 3 years, a scheme where customers can return any piece of clothing that they want in any condition to us, for which we'll give them a discount off a new piece, and we either repurpose that in some way, shape or form, or we clean it and we sell it as a used piece of clothing to try and ensure that it will never go to waste, doesn't just get chucked out. But what's been exciting for us is that during lockdown, we've taken an enormous step forward. Well, we think it's an enormous step forward. We like to think it is, by creating a new scheme with the help of a grant from the Mayor of London and London, which we've named Loan to Own. So it is a rental scheme. It's a sort of try before you buy. It allows you to try our clothes for really for a minimal amount of money. And if you fall in love with it, you pay for the rest of it and you keep it. And if you decide, you know what, it's not for me, you can return it. And then we clean it, make sure it's in good condition, and then we sell it on in our pre-loved collection. So what we're trying to do here is we're not only trying to extend the life of our garments by allowing them to be worn by multiple users, but also we're trying to make sure that the clothing doesn't end up in a landfill, but even more importantly, doesn't just end up in the back of somebody's wardrobe, never being worn, which is sort of equally not where you want the end of life of your garment to be. So we want to make sure that our clothing ends up with someone who loves it and it's worn again and again.
Yeah, so the way people view fashion is changing, and we recognize that we need to move with the times, and we really believe that we are being innovators. We're certainly the first brand in the mid-market to do this try before you buy or rental scheme. I mean, we'll all be aware of, Occasion rental or Carrie Johnson renting her wedding dress, that kind of thing. But we're new to doing it in a mid-range piece of clothing, something that you wear more intimately as well. And really, just to sum up, we're trying to give as many women as possible access to our clothing, whether that's through the sizing, because we're quite unusual in that for a small startup, we go from a size 6 to size 20, or whether that's different buying options. So whether you buy outright, or whether you borrow, or whether you decide you're going to get a pre-loved piece. So there's lots of different options to try our clothing, and to send it back if you find it's not for you. And women do change their minds about clothing. So even if you've loved something for a long time, you can then send it back if you think it's no longer getting enough use. So I think it's really about changing people's attitudes to how they buy. And it's really only when we're able to change the mindset of your average customer that sustainability and reuse will take off in a meaningful way across all sectors, rather than it being niche. And it's sort of currently moving away from being niche to being more mainstream. And we hope that we're helping lead the way, certainly in the fashion sector.
Yeah, and I can see we're running out of time here. So just to sum up really, very briefly, is that what we found and what we have found reflected to us, we do a lot of roundtables, we've been on a lot of panel talks, we've spoken to companies which are very, very, very large, enormous multinational companies to very tiny companies, but they would all reflect the same thing, that for the moment, for most consumers of retail products, price is the most important thing still. Of course, there's a subsection of people for whom that doesn't make a difference, but essentially people will buy something because they love it, they want it, they feel they need it. And if it's sustainable as well, that's great. But for most people, that's still not the actual driver. So for us, when we look at this sustainability issue idea, it will have to move forward kind of as a on a tripod, which is companies taking on more responsibility and education. There has to be government intervention from our point of view, and also education for consumers, and that will have to be then it could be threaded through all industry sectors, and that will be hopefully when sustainability will be the norm rather than the outlier. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for this great presentation. Oh, you don't hear me? Oh, I was on mute.
You were muted.
Thank you for your presentation, Eileen and Nancy. That was a great knowledge you've shared with us. Here is your time in the audience to ask any questions you have. You can even challenge Nancy and Eileen if you have concerns about these new approach. What do you think about this approach? And you can ask your questions by jumping on the question mark I am at this very moment, or you can raise your hand if you are stuck for some reason and you want me to give you the mic. If you don't have any questions, I have some of my own, but please walk towards me if you have any questions. No? Then I'll use that opportunity myself. Oh, Angela. Please take my spot. You are on mute too. It's supposed to unmute yourself, but I don't know. There you go.
Wow, I hadn't heard of your brand. It's brilliant what you've done. It's really, really impressive that, I mean, I guess you both have a background in sustainability to be able to almost from the outset develop and grow a brand that is so holistic in its sustainable approach. Even if you haven't, and to your credit, because you've obviously created it. I just wondered, I love what you're doing around the kind of the schemes like, you know, try before you buy, and then the return schemes, but how big do they have to be in order to be, or how do you scale them for them to be sort of viable from both an economic perspective and also an impact perspective?
Go on, you go first.
So, well, that's an excellent question, and it's one that we are presently asking ourselves. It's brand new. We launched, we did a soft launch last summer. It's really started getting up and running in October, and hands up, it's been a slow burn. And that's why we keep banging on about the fact that it can't just be companies that are pushing the agenda forward. There needs to be government regulation in place and more education of consumers. But I think in terms of rentals, I actually don't know at what point it becomes viable, because we also have our existing, obviously, normal, you like something, you buy, you keep it. Yes. And so they're running side by side. You know, loan to own is very small right now. It's growing very slowly. So we just have to watch and see. But it's something we've asked ourselves, because so many companies from LK Bennett to Marks and Spencer's are doing rental now suddenly. And, you know, with Marks and Spencer's, you can rent something for something like £4 a week, I think.
Yeah.
Is that viable in the long run? I have no idea. But I think everybody now is just trying their best to experiment and see what might work going
I think also, just to add to that, you have to think about the returns as well. So we send everything out using Royal Mail because we don't want to put extra vehicles on the road.
Yes.
And obviously we all know in lockdown, there's lots more vans driving around. So you have to think about the whole thing, don't you? So, you know, if I buy something and it's delivered by DPD and then I return it by DPD, you know, it's all those different little incremental things you have to think about as well.
Yeah.
So we tried to build that in. One thing about our loan to own, a lot of it is timing. So yes, we properly launched it around October. And in hindsight, maybe that's not the best time because obviously then it comes up to Christmas and a lot of people are buying Christmas presents and they don't buy, I'll buy your month's worth of a top, you know. So, you know, we're hoping that now sort of sale time is coming to an end, that it can be looked at with fresh eyes. And we just have to wait and see. And as Eileen says, because it all runs alongside concurrently, it's fine because it's the same product ranges. So it's just giving customers more ways to buy, more ways to try, and in a way, more ways to experiment. So they might rent a few things, like say you're going on holiday and you just want to pack a few pieces for a short trip and then you're not sure if you want to keep them. It gives you that option to try them. And then someone else, if you return, you know, you think, well, actually, I'm not going to have that holiday next year. So someone else, you return them, and someone else who maybe it's too expensive for will think, well, I'll buy that because I actually think that's going to be good for me and that's at a price point I can afford. So, you know, trying to get out of that whole fast fashion disposable. I mean, recently, I think it was yesterday, I read that so much of our fast fashion is ending up in the Atacama Desert being burnt. And, you know, we've just got to try and find other ways for people to have fast consume, you know, because people do want to consume. We've got used to having stuff. So it's another way to have stuff without feeling you have to have it forever or just chuck it away.
Yeah, I think we all feel better if we know that our clothes can live
Exactly.
another life elsewhere. And also I think that, you know, from a personal perspective, buying into that resale market for me is almost become my number one choice.
Yeah.
Where brands are offering that option for me is very compelling, and it's not even a price consideration, although I appreciate what you said about price being the major consideration, but I wouldn't be buying resale because it's cheaper. I'm buying it because I believe in the ethos of it.
And when that becomes more the norm, that's, you know, the slowly approach. It's just changing mindsets is the slowest thing to do and it's the hardest thing to do, but you just have to keep banging on the door until it finally, you know, filters down to more and more people, I believe.
Yeah.
Step by step. I'm sorry, Tatiana has a question. I think we can pursue the conversations in our breakout rooms afterwards. No worries. Angela, do you mind leaving the spot for Tatiana's question?
Let me just
Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't forget to unmute yourself, Tatiana. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Tatiana.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. Just a quick question. Which marketing or advertising channels do you use? Because frankly speaking, no, it's now very difficult to promote your own brand. And have you thought about anything sustainable as well in this regard? Thank you.
To be honest, I mean, I could say hats off to Nancy. So Nancy's background was in marketing and advertising. And for the first 3.5 years, really, she was in charge of all of that. And we have had really the most enormous amount of press. Now, that was partly hard work. It was very much using networks, I'd say. So it's all about networking because somebody might know somebody that can put your brand in front of them. At the end of the day, they might say, oh, I hate it, forget it, or like dump it in the trash. But the reality is at least they've looked at it and they can make a decision. What happens most of the times, as I'm sure you know, is people will get 1,000 emails a day. So they just don't look at most of them. So people don't even see what you're doing. In the last year, we have done some Google ads. We have done some Instagram ads. We won an Instagram award. So we experimented using the prize money from that on Instagram. We did also with a Facebook ads as well. Did we get anything more out of that than from organic sales? Not really. No, that you get more followers, you get a wider audience, maybe a few more people know about you. In terms of conversion, I wouldn't say it was amazing. So for us, really, organic marketing and organic press stories have been.
And the thing I would add to that in terms of sustainability that is very frustrating is that a lot of fashion journalists write about sustainable brands. You know, have you tried this brand? It's made locally, or this brand, whatever. But when you're trying to write to them to say we're about reuse and, you know, and a different model, they're not interested, because where is the new? And so it becomes increasingly hard. So you're kind of, in a way, it's a sort of, you know, unless we have something different and new, they're not interested necessarily in, well, look at a different way of shopping. They're interested in a different piece of clothing. And from a sustainable point of view, that's really quite difficult, because until you can change their mindsets as well, it's because a lot of people take a lead from someone who they trust in. So you can sell it when you're new, but when you're selling a new way of shopping, that's the harder sell.
Yeah, and fashion is, let's face it, predicated on the fact that you're going to have a new look. Yeah. And so we even had one editor who basically said, "Oh no, sorry, we can't show anything if the collection's been out for more than a couple of months. It has to be new." So, you know, and if you do get press in a sustainable magazine or a sustainable platform, to some extent you're preaching to the converted. So it's very catch-22. There's no simple answer.
All right. Thank you so much for these questions. I think we're going to pursue this in the networking area because we are running late. But it's so interesting to discuss about this all together. So I didn't want to interrupt earlier. Let's head to the networking room on the right side of your screen. And we will then well, I see people are moving around, so they're not hearing me. Let's go there, and I'll I'll give you some guidance in the next room.